Hey everybody, I'm Tommy. You're on the lifeboat. What's happening? Rona Cooley, good to see you. What's up, Charlie Muffins? Hey, Karma Chameleon. I beg to differ. I think you're clever. I believe you said you weren't, but I think you are. Even though it will be on replay, I have a big question. Do you think all the allegations will be proven or substantiated? Things have been so blown up. Well, things are hugely blown up, right? Things are absolutely massively blown up. And I'm answering this one first before we get rolling because I know you're leaving. No, I don't think all of them are going to come out to be proven. I think a lot of the allegations that are starting to come up against him, even if they're true, I'm not suggesting any of the people are making this stuff up, but I think we're talking about a long period of time. In a lot of these cases, they're talking about stuff from the 90s even, right? Those are really, really old cases. Statutes of limitations would have long been up if it wasn't for that law in New York, the Survivors Act, that gave people an opportunity to go at them civilly, right? That law is what allowed this to happen, or it wouldn't have happened. And by the way, again, it's one of the reasons that I think he's getting RICO'd is so that all of those prior bad acts that are way past the shelf life on the statutes of limitations for all of those. Yeah. But I do think they're going to have a struggle proving all of these. There's no question in my mind. In fact, you want a little perspective? I don't know if anybody, the 800 number. You dial an 800 number, 800-200-7474. Are you ready?
Your call may be recorded for call quality assurance purposes. Thank you for calling the Diddy Codes Abuse Helpline. This call is being recorded. We understand the strength and encourage you to come forward. Any information you provide will be kept completely confidential, but we expect full honesty in order to properly assist you with your potential case. By staying on the line, you agree to provide information to the best of your knowledge under penalty of perjury. Please hold for the next available representative.
All right. If that doesn't freak you out a little bit, the fact that this is a recorded helpline. Well, this is the kind of crap they do when Chrysler has an airbag problem, right? This is the kind of stuff you see on class action lawsuits across the board. The fact that this guy's got $700 million at last count. I don't think he's got that anymore, to be honest with you. But that's where he peaked at. Peaked at 700 and change. I don't think that's the case. But man, oh man, right? Are they all going to be proven true? No. I think a lot of them, I think people are going to come out of the woodwork that don't have enough. I'm not suggesting they're BSing. I'm just suggesting a lot of people are going to come out of the woodwork from a long time ago, and not all of these things will be able to be proved. Noel, good to see you. How are you? Flick Fox, what's happening? Hey, Patricia. Brenda, Subi, Scoob. What's up, Scoob? Nesquick. Chase the Heat. I don't know if you guys know this, but Chase the Heat turned 8 today. Jelly, how are you? 8 years old, people. We're going to be having a celebration over on Chase the Heat at 6 o'clock. Rumors that there might be foul fish or some kind of heat thing there, or something that makes Tommy vomit. I don't know. I've heard those rumors too. Johnny's tough to trust. Hey, Spike, what's happening? Good to see you. Jane Aldrich, what's happening? Life is dreaming. How are you? Badger Life. Diddy owned attorneys, judges, and possibly princes. Allegedly, right? Saguaro Christmas, what's happening? Yeah, I do think that he owned it. And I'll tell you something. I think I could even make a case for it. Hey, Kristen from Scotland. Good to see you. Laura, what's happening? Hey, Patricia. Liz Tricks. Kathy. All right. Willow Wren. Made alive. Glad that you did. Allison Metcalf Palumbo. Thank you for the link. Allison Metcalf Palumbo sent me something, an email. Thank you. And amusing. How you been? Rona Cooley. Yeah. We got us a crowd. We got us a crowd. All right, people. Hey, Missy Ann, what's happening? Nicola, Zero Fox. At all. Not around here. Serendipity, my friend. All right, good things happen to those who wait. Hey, Deadhead, how you been? West Coast, Fancy Nancy. See, now all the people that hear me say Fancy Nancy, East Coast Variety, now you know why I do that. West Coast Fancy Nancy, how you doing? Tweeter, Fakwa, good to see you. Hey, that's a very cool thing to say. Appreciate that. I'm Cordy. Good to see you. Lisa B. Yeah, this is, who's got a happy birthday? Yeah, happy birthday to Chase the Heat. 8 years today. Meredith Lynn. How you been? Good to see you. Hey, Nikki. James, what's happening? All right. I think we can get this thing underway. What do you think? We fire this rascal up? Nikki, good to see you. Hey, Monk. Lisa Courtney. Nikki. Yeah. Karen, good to see you. Yeah, we can get this thing underway. Cindy Plumley, how you been? Monica. Nana, how are you? All right, let's fire this thing up. Parlock 480, good to see you. All right, let's fire this thing up. So the that 800 number is out there. I'm not suggesting it shouldn't be. I promise you I'm not. But allegedly, they've gotten over 15,000 phone calls to that number. Now, no matter how prolific this cat was, that seems to me to be a very, very high number. Now, right, in defense, maybe not all of them are saying something happened to me. Maybe some of these individuals are saying I was someplace and I saw something, right? Who knows? But that's a lot of people, man. That's a lot of people that would have, come into this guy's orbit. And I'm not suggesting that it's too much, right? I mean, it's too many people because according to what they're accusing him of, there could have been 40 or 50 people at every one of these things. Some of them, allegedly, not all of them. Debbie Longstocking. Diddy will never see the light of day. The prison system will own Diddy. I think you're probably right on that one. Hey, Caroline, I absolutely don't think this guy's got a shot of getting out. And this is just from a federal inmate. I'm no lawyer, right? I'm not, but from a guy that's done time in the feds, whatever the deal they lay out for him, if he doesn't take that deal, they're going to give him at least double it when they sentence him. So if they're telling you he's facing 15 years, that's not what he's going to get because he's going to the box. He's going to fight this thing. And the feds get really salty when people don't plead guilty. In fact, it's a double whammy because if you plead guilty, your offense level drops 3 points. Let's say, hypothetically, you're a bank robber. That's a base level offense of 21. Depending on how much money you took, it can bump you up a couple more levels. This, right, is on an axis. This is your criminal offense, right? Number one is you got caught in a public park with a 6-pack of beer kind of thing, right? Because it's public, it makes it fed, but it's so stupid you could get probation. That's like 1 through 3 they can actually give you probation on. But as you start getting down further and you get to the very end, which is in the 30s, you're looking at stuff like kidnapping, stuff like what Sean Diddy Combs has been accused of. Those crimes land you down there in the high numbers. If you plead guilty, they're going to drop you 3 points. If you don't, and you go all the way to the box, they're going to blow those guidelines out. Trust and believe you're not getting the guidelines. If you take it to the box and you make the federal government spend a buttload of money to convict you, then they get salty. They don't like that, right? When they say they have a 98% conviction rate, that doesn't mean they convict 98% of people. Most of us are smart enough to not try to get in a fist fight with the United States of America, right? It's how do you win? This is going to be a prime example of just how the federal government can roll over you, no matter who you are, right? If you're just a little fish, if you're somebody out there slinging dope, be wary, be very wary, because you're going to see what the federal government can do to somebody that's got 400 million, at least Forbes thinks, right? A little shy of $500 million. That's kick around money. And I hate to be, what's the word I'm looking for? I hate to be cynical, but I bet there's a couple of offshore accounts. He's made reference to offshore accounts. Apparently this guy jaw-jacked. If half of the things that people allege are true, this guy doesn't shut up. You got to hit him with a phone book. If half of the things that people say he said are true, he talks too much, right? Just the stuff in the case of the Cassie Ventura lawsuit, there's some crazy stuff said in there, right? My trial was fixed. The New York trial. He brags that if you fixed a trial, why would you brag about that? I mean, honestly, pretty scary stuff. But we're hearing that people went and got tested at hospitals, right? People went and got tested at hospitals to see if they had been slipped anything. This happened on multiple occasions. I would imagine there are police reports, right? I mean, isn't that logical? Because I'll tell you something. I used to be a criminal, right? And I remember trying to rob a drug dealer once. And in the process of robbing this drug dealer, I got maced and actually got hit in the head. I did get away with the drugs, but I got a really huge cut over my eye. And I needed stitches. And I went to a hospital and they said, what happened to your eye? And I said, I got in a fist fight. So I started there like, hold on, we got to call the police. And I went, yeah. Do you have a bathroom? And then I ran out of there as fast as I can. And when I went to the next place, right, 2 towns over, I hit a hospital and they said, what happened to your eye? And I said, I was mountain biking, right? But if you go to a hospital and you say, I think I probably got dosed with something, then they test you and it turns out that you did, there's going to be a police report, I promise you, right? So all of these police reports got what? Balled up and thrown out? He's got bodyguards that stay allegedly on walls in police stations where they got the pictures of all of like the commissioner and the top dogs, the lieutenants, whatever. I don't know all of those names, but you know what I'm talking about, the top dog, right? Somewhere along that line is a picture of Diddy, right? This is alleged. And if that's the truth, if there's a few police stations that got pictures of Diddy hanging up in them, we got issues, man. We got very serious issues. But what's the question that 99% of people ask? Hey, Kristen, Melinda, good to see you. What's up, CJ Harris? Russ is here. The question that everybody asks, it's on everybody's lips. How did he get away with this for so long? How did he get away with this for so long? If you guys watched Jaguar Wright the other night, she was on the Sean Atwood program. There were 12,000 plus people in the chat for about 2 hours, right? Between having Jag on and then having the next program, Lionel, on. Pretty incredible stuff, man. It was a huge, huge live feed. But Jaguar said some stuff that was enlightening, right? Honestly, concerning judges, concerning things being rigged with judges and all kinds of crazy stuff. And you know what? When I say crazy, I don't mean I think there's something wrong with her. Because as unbelievable as a lot of this stuff sounds, when you start looking at there are a lot of people who have been busted for this kind of thing. There have been judges kicked off benches for this kind of thing. Galen, good to see you. Thank you. It was fun being on the Sean Atwood program today. Ron's a hell of a lot of fun. Hello, Lisa. Glad that you're here. So, hey, Martha, what's up? Martha. Jaguar does seem to know a hell of a lot. Now, here's the thing. Another question I get about Jaguar all the time is, look, man, it seems like her wealth of knowledge, like you listen to the early interviews, you got to realize something. She's pretty much the face of this, right? Honestly, like before anyone was out in this cat, she was out in this cat. Bad, right? Making all kinds of noise about the fact that this dude was a lowlife, right? A long time ago. So if there are people out there, especially people that might be still afraid of the guy, you got to understand that before he went away, there were a lot of tight lips, right? Why? Because he's Don Corleone, right? For real, because he's the Godfather, because this is a crime organization and he sits at the top of it, right? And I would not be surprised if we saw superseding indictments that have bodies. This is a theory, by the way, people. It's Tommy's theory. But you think that all of this they're not going to dive into at least 2 cases that the whole world is waiting to hear about, right? There had not been an arrest in the Tupac case until Keefe D, right? By the way, I don't know how he got his nickname, but if you've ever been to prison, Keefe is all the commissary stuff, right? You buy stuff in prison. If you're pimping and you got big cash, you buy Folgers coffee, right? And everything's instant, but you buy Folgers instant coffee. If you're not rolling in dough and you got a job down at the chow hall that pays you $19 a month, you drink Keefe. Okay? And Keefe comes in the Colombian grind, which is actually a fairly decent cup of instant coffee. Purple Groovy, good to see you. Cheeky, what's happening? Hey, Megan. Honestly, so I'm not sure if that's how he got his name, but Keefe D got arrested, yeah? Okay. And we've been hearing for a really long time that he's going to throw Diddy under the bus, right? Allegedly, He's already said that Diddy wrote a check for $1 million, right? The question is going to become, which one of those guys is going to get blamed for this? Because one of them is going to get blamed. In my humble opinion, it's either going to be one of them testifying against the other or the other way around. One of them is going to be a witness and the other one is going to be a defendant. And I think if you're Keefe D, boy, you must have an awful lot of incentive to talk to everybody in sight. And allegedly, he already has, right? Plenty of times. And he sure went on shows with impunity. I mean, holy God. You know, again, sometimes people do things and they think statutes and limitations, I got nothing to worry about. 7 years goes by, right? That's done. I don't do stuff like that. If that group gets RICO'd, right? They can keep bumping that back and keep bumping that back. They can go back to show prior bad acts to high school, right? Honestly, if going back as far as they do shows that you're the head of this criminal empire, right? If these prior bad acts show that this entire business is nothing but a crime organization, trust and believe it's going to get in, right? Hey, Tony Suter, what's happening? It's absolutely going to be let in. Just the way it goes, right? So the question on everyone's lips, why has this man been able to get along, be able to do this as long as he has? Because he intimidates the dog crap out of people. And I don't think he did that alone. How many times do you think somebody has to go down and file a police report that says, I got assaulted, right? And have it get swept under the rug? If the Echo story, right? The guy from Mark Echo, that story that that they're telling about the guy who ends up in a Macy's stock room, right? Some of the accusations that are coming out are so violent and so ugly. You think to yourself, that guy went to Macy's allegedly, because he's suing them as well. But allegedly, he went to Macy's and told them this happened. But this dude had the kind of power to make Macy's say, yeah, we're not going to do anything about that. You're fired. And the parent company that you're working for, they're going to fire you too. And your apartment that you're getting as part of this deal, bye-bye. See ya. That is all alleged, right, to have taken place. Saloni, how are you? That's kind of scary, don't you think? Now you start looking at this through a different lens. Start looking at this like this is Mario Puzo writing this, because this has got Godfather qualities to it, man. There's a reason that they got charged with RICO, right? There's a reason that they charged him with RICO. And Christy Durbin, Diddy is having minions do his dirty work. Prior to getting locked up, he was doing a great deal of that dirty work on his own, right? Allegedly, Don Richard, who had filed a lawsuit saying that he had attacked her, right? Allegedly, Kalina Harper, I believe is the woman's name, right? Kalina Harper? I think that's the name. Had said, allegedly, and was a witness to this, right? And that is what Don Richard said. Don Richard said, yeah, you talk to her. She knows exactly what happened. She can back this stuff up. Well, the prosecution says that Mr. Combs called her 54 times, right? 54 times before she decided that she didn't see it, right? When people go, why aren't they letting this guy out? Because those kind of things really chap the backside of the Federal Bureau of Investigation and the Department of Justice. I don't like it when people play with their court system. Really, really makes them angry. And the judges are reading, right, all of this stuff. And in what the judges are reading, allegedly, he's bragging that they bought a jury in New York for his Pew Pew trial from the 90s. You know, the J-Lo incident, the nightclub, December 27th, I believe was the year. I mean, the day. December 27th, they all went out to a nightclub, and allegedly, J-Lo carried the Pew Pew into the nightclub for Sean Combs. After an argument breaks out, she gives him the piece. He uses it, right? And a bullet fragment gets lodged in the face, which is really kind of a bummer, of Natanya Rubin, right? who, by the way, has been screaming at the top of her lungs since the day it happened. I watched him shoot me, right? But he didn't get sent up for that. Now, Gene Deal in an interview said that that Diddy and his attorney put the entire case together for the prosecution. That's what Gene Deal alleged. That they basically handed over, like, here's the people you need to talk to these people. That kind of crap, that doesn't happen, people. I promise you it doesn't happen, right? Not in my world. Not in my world. But apparently this guy had the ability to throw around his weight, to throw around cash, right? I do need a button that says allegedly. Well, you know something? I think I'm the last purveyor of the word allegedly. And I'll tell you something, people. This stuff hasn't been proved. You know what a nightmare it would be if this guy turns around and finds himself not guilty? They would be deleting. Boy, there'd be videos on YouTube getting taken down, wouldn't there be? I'm talking about tons of them. There's a lot of people not saying allegedly, right? But Krista Melinda says I had to put the phone down. So catching up on 2-speed, I missed so many allegedlys. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. No question. Gene Deal does know a lot. And I'll tell you something about Gene Deal, right? In my opinion, in my humble opinion, this is a guy who, when he tells the story, he's got a conscience, right? He has a conscience. He doesn't, and I'm not busting on anybody else, right? But when this guy gets interviewed, for instance, when they talked about what happened with Usher and the alleged trip to the hospital, which, by the way, you don't think there would have been a report on that? Who got paid off allegedly? That did not end up, because this is what has been said, that he was injured in a way that you get injured sort of at a freak off. He didn't get injured like they were playing touch football in the yard, right? It wasn't one of those types of injuries. It was one of those injuries to someone's backside that they should never, ever have to endure, allegedly. But Gene Deal said, you know what? I was there, but it's not my story to tell, which I find amazing, right? Seriously amazing, especially in this environment. But there's a lot of stuff he says things like that on. Yeah, that's not my stuff. I'm not going to go there. I also don't hear him say things that you hear, hey, sweet tea, that you hear all of the other bodyguards say. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to bust the chops at any of the other bodyguards. I'm sure they're great people, right? But unless you're a witness on this case, I have a feeling you're going to be a defendant, because these guys are doing interviews and talking about, yeah, I watched him beat the ever-loving crap out of a bunch of women. What is the somebody? We got a legal beagle here. What's the word? There's a word in legalese, right? It's a law that never gets used. Oh man, I'm not going to be able to remember this word. If you are a legal nerd, what is the name of the word that if you happen to witness a crime and you know it takes place and you do nothing, right? You don't report it, you don't do anything, they can charge you. They can charge you. It doesn't happen very often, right? It really doesn't, but they can. And I have a feeling, we could see some people in bad shape. If you were a bodyguard for this guy, the stuff that you saw going down, the people who said, oh yeah, everybody there, yeah, we knew which bottles were drugged for the women. What? I don't know that I'd be saying that in an interview, bro. Honestly, though, that's a confession. You're complicit, right? He is known to have been tight with a high-ranking officer. I think his name was McCluskey. Very corrupt individual. Yes, doesn't like Italians. Jeremy Shelton knows. Absolutely, right? Allegedly. Shanta, how are you? Accessory after the fact. You know, in the feds, correct me if I'm wrong, yeah, the accessory after the fact can get you usually whatever the charge is, minus about 6 years. That's what I've always watched. But what I'm talking about is, there you go, right there. Who is it? Megan. That's my girl. I knew I knew there would be a law nerd. No offense, Megan, but you're a law nerd. Misprison of a felony. Are you an attorney, Megan? Or did you just happen to know that? If you're not an attorney, you're a law nerd. Yeah. But that's, misprision of a felony. This is what happens if you witness a crime, right? You have knowledge that what's going down is a crime and you don't report it. You don't do anything to stop it. You just go, yeah, I'm just going to. If you make a habit of it, right, then they probably won't charge somebody. And you just don't see this get charged. But if you're a bodyguard and you went to 40 of these things, right, you went to every single one of the parties and every single time you knew which drinks were, I have a feeling you're probably going to get charged, right? You're probably going to get really hemmed up and just be part of the RICO. But if not, misprision of a felony is definitely something that they could hit you with. You're a Canadian felon. You know what? I wouldn't know, my man, but I'm a big fan of Canadian felons. I did time with there was a decent Canadian car in the federal prison system, no joke, because a lot of Canadians get caught in the process of taking stuff from our southern border across their border, and they end up in the feds. Purple Groovy, how are you? Hey, Susie Q's. Well, I'm glad that you got to say hi. The downhill skier, I love it. Tommy Bird, how are you? You're late. Yeah, you're a little late. And there will not be a night boat tonight because I'm going to be on Chase the Heat, celebrating the 8th anniversary of my brother, the legend, Johnny Scoville. Johnny Scoville. It's one of those things that only comes along once in a lifetime. Right? There ain't going to be another 8-year anniversary for Chase the Heat. Of this, I can promise you. Every time you mention his assistant KK, I throw up in my mouth a little bit. What she has done and cleared up must be staggering. Well, I'll tell you something. She's not alone, right? Allegedly, there were 2 others before her, right? Or other people that one absolutely worked. One of them absolutely worked for her, right? With absolutely no question whatsoever. Ethiopian Hoptamariam is the name that just keeps getting thrown back in the middle of all of this, right? Big time. And then before that, I believe the woman's name was Capricorn, right? Anna, good to see you. And I'm glad you caught the show on Sean's channel. I got to be honest with you, people. I have a really good time over there. It's I think the audience is pretty damn similar to the one that we've got here, and that's pretty high praise, honestly. That's the kind of thing that I'm bragging about. Really, if I compare an audience to this audience, I'm pretty damn proud of the audience over here. Sean's wifey. Hello, Tommy and crew from Blackpool, UK. Love it. Love it. Love it. Kristen Melendez started out with the initials KK, throws her a bit. Well, on the bright side, since marrying, you won't have to worry about that. Hopefully, it's kind of funny, not funny, ha, but how things like this, when this trial is over, KK will never be the same, right? I promise you. Those 2 letters for a generation, 2. It's going to be one of those things that, 6 o'clock. I'm sorry, 6 o'clock. That's Pacific time. Cherry Cola. I'll be damned. How are you? Good to see you. Brown Spotted Eagle. Yeah, prayers for anyone that needs them is a beautiful sentiment. Thank you. So I think that, we talk all of the time about, do you think this is going to go away? Do I think people are going to butcher this? I think that there's a risk, right? I think that there's a risk that because of the level, this is my opinion, because of the level of I don't know what you want to call it. There were too many high-ranking people involved in this, right? That looked the other way. There's a ton of police reports that got buried. There's a ton of people that complained about this cat. We're going to see a lot of other people get sued, right? A lot of other people are going to get sued. If these hotel chains knew what was happening, right, and swept things up. If you go upstairs and there's $45,000 worth of damage done, do you think they may have made some calls during the night? Do you think that there are any hotels that had a better idea of what was happening? I promise you, we're going to be looking at some ugly, ugly stuff, right? For real. Another Kirsten. This one from Scotland. I love it. They're getting a fairly decent number of Scots here. So yeah, here's the thing. As far as if you get caught in the United States and you're breaking a U.S. law, you're going to have to do time in the U.S. normally, right? And then they will send you back to your country of origin. This is why this is why our southern border, people who come across the southern border are more often than not arrested. They get caught a second, a third time, a fourth time, they will start arresting them, and they get for illegal entry, they get 5 years, and a bunch. They would come in 40 or 50 at a time. As I was leaving the federal system, the numbers were getting so skewed, by race because of how many people they were arresting at the southern border. I wonder if those hotels are freaking out now. Here's the thing, Saloni. I would be willing to bet that there are businesses out the wazoo. How about we know that people have been listed in lawsuits, right? Universal Music Group, right? Sir Lucian Grange, I believe it was allegedly, right? He's listed in the lawsuit as well. So in the loss, Diddy has said on multiple occasions, bragging, I don't pay for anything, right? I don't pay for anything. My money doesn't go to these parties. This isn't my money. Whose money is it? Because whosever money it is, you want to talk about deep trouble? Whosever money that is, they're not paying that money to be cool. They're not paying that money because really great parties are awesome. Who's ever paying that money is paying that money because they're into this, right? They're into it because they're somehow benefiting from the tapes that are being made. Again, blackmail people is not just, hey, how much money do you want to give me? And maybe I'll give you this tape. It can be a lifetime of, we'd like you to do a little favor for us, right? A professional athlete. I don't know if you guys understand the gambling system in our country, right? It's no different than a stock. If you could rig a basketball game, then you're talking about insider trading. You could go and put a bet on that game and make as much money as you want to make, right? It sounds silly. But if you got video of maybe an amazing, right, athlete who say, I don't know, plays basketball, right? If you got dirt on that guy, how tough would it be 3 or 4 times a year to say, you know what, I need you to lose tonight, and I'm betting the under. Right? It's a 2-teamer. We're betting a parlay bet, so I need you to lose, and you need to shave a crap load of points. I'm not going to ask you to do it again. This is the one time this season. You cannot imagine the amount of money that you can turn with that kind of knowledge. How about a politician? How about the fact that this guy knew every prince on planet Earth, apparently? Right? Apparently, this guy really liked hanging out with princes. That's a problem, right? That's seriously a problem. Especially because a lot of the people that, where do you, after Great Britain, there's not a lot of princes in Great Britain. There's a lot of princes in places like Saudi Arabia. And a lot of frightening rumors about people who disappear in countries like that. Allegedly. I would love to think Diddy is wrong about not paying for it, but I'm telling you right now, here's the thing. I said this in one of the very first Diddy videos I ever did. What came first, the mogul or the party? You understand the question, right? What came first, him being ridiculously wealthy and throwing these parties? Or did the party start and then he become ridiculously wealthy? Because if the parties were starting before this guy was rolling in dough, then someone else obviously was putting up the cash for it. And if these parties were how he got rich, right? If you own artists, if you have artists on your label that I'm just not going to pay you what I normally would pay somebody else. In fact, we're going to pay you damn near nothing. And if you mess with me, we're just going to, we'll release to the world this tape of you doing X, Y, and Z. You follow me? It's a pretty frightening concept. The parties led the mogul. See, listen, this is my humble belief. 100%. This is my humble belief. I'll tell you what, if you were slinging Ciroc vodka, right? If you were slinging De Leon tequila, would it be a pretty decent investment, right? To help throw a little money onto a Diddy party, wouldn't it? I mean, honestly, however much we don't like P. Diddy, he did wonders for Ciroc, right? He did wonders for that brand. He took it from nothing to unbelievable in a very short period of time, right? I mean, honestly, through the roof. He made that company a fortune, and I would be really surprised if they weren't kicking down some money. I'd be shocked if they weren't sponsoring these parties, along with some other really big names. This guy had huge friends. It's frightening stuff, people. Thank you, Batters. What a kind thing to say. I really appreciate that. My freaking A1C was 11.6. Thought I was doing well after losing 40 pounds. Apparently, nonetheless, case. I never understood this. Honestly, like the numbers on A1C, sorry, I know I digress, but I never understood them. I don't know what any of them mean. Kind of makes me feel stupid. Hey, Kiki, how are you? You know what? This is one of those cats that we probably will hear a good deal of drop the soap jokes about the time that Diddy starts going to prison, and you're going to hear a lot of people talking about how, that he's probably into it. I don't think it's a place where consensual stuff is going to be. It's going to be very different than it would be in the street. The dynamics inside there. Most people inside aren't stoked to know that you're doing that. It causes bad things to happen in a really big way, for real. Anna says, Tommy, I lived in Saudi for 5 years plus. People did indeed disappear. You never knew what or who hid under. Yeah, I mean, this is a reality, right? This is a reality, and you want me to do an allegedly thing, I can. But there are channels that talk about almost nothing but this, right? The trade of how people who come up missing end up in places around the world where people with the right amount of money can literally purchase somebody. It's absolutely one of the most twisted and disgusting things. Honestly, it's way too disturbing. It's way too disturbing, but it's one of those things that, I think there was a time where I like to maybe, at least in my own head, pretend that crap isn't happening, right? Because this is a really ugly world, and if you start to realize that there are people out there that are trafficking and things like this, once again, why did somebody from the Sinaloa cartel sue Diddy for $666,000? Odd number, right? He's definitely trying to send a message, and he sued him for destroying his D business, right? His chemical trade. This guy was an amateur pharmacist, and he alleges that Diddy destroyed his business because he wouldn't traffic in human beings. Right? That seems really odd to me. I can't, but I know enough that to know that people in organizations don't usually take it upon themselves to do things like this, especially behind bars. That the order to do that came from somebody who was more important than he was. So if that cartel is trying to send a message to Diddy, then we're starting to, I'm telling you, it gets really bizarre. But the time that it takes, and by the way, there's the Prisoner Litigation Reform Act, right? The Prison Litigation Reform Act, PLRA. Back in the day, guys with nothing to do and a life sentence would sue the BOP once a week, I'm not being funny at all. They would file one lawsuit after another, and they would file it against the warden. They'd file it against everybody there, and it just tied the system up in paperwork brutally. So they put a system in place where if you bring a lawsuit that's frivolous, they're going to force you to pay, right? They're going to force you to pay, and they're going to force you to pay in the future. From that point on, anything you do, you can't do anything for free. You're now going to be paying filing charges and all kinds of other stuff that makes it really expensive to screw around with the courts. This was such a frivolous lawsuit. The guy that did this knew that the Prison Reform Litigation Act was not going to be happy, right? This is going to violate everything the PLRA is all about. So, yeah, it is really interesting, right? Now, here's the thing, people. I'd love to tell you I got an answer for you, but I don't. What I can tell you is that the proximity of ADX to the joint where this guy filed the paperwork from, those are about as close as two prison facilities could be. Yet, they are as far apart as two human beings can be. The only thing is, there are units in ADX, right, for workers. You understand? No matter how locked down that prison is, you need people who are going to do laundry for all the people in all of those cells. Those guys got to have laundry done, and it ain't going to be cops doing it. So you need to have cadre. The term they use inside is cadre workers, right? So there are units of people inside ADX that are doing things like laundry and stuff like that. The idea that you could probably get a note into somebody in laundry wouldn't be a stretch, right? Because the way you do laundry in the feds is you take all your clothing, you put it in a laundry bag, which is a white mesh bag, and you tie the top of it. There's a thing on the bottom with your register number on it, right? Or your symbol or your name or whatever you want to do. But the bag with the clothes gets thrown into these huge industrial washers. And that would be, because people go, how would they get a message out? I'm telling you, convicts are really creative, man. Convicts are really, really creative. And if you were taking stuff out of, if you knew that the laundry that was coming in was from a big swinging, what, in a particular organization, you might check pockets. You might look around. But getting that message out to him, is it a possibility? Damn right. And El Chapo is across the street from him. Right? Interesting. But I'm going to go with James on this thing. I don't think you want these people pissed off at you. Tommy Bird, I like the concept, right? Or people that make sporks, because I'll tell you something. I spent a lot of time eating out of a spork. You guys familiar with the spork concept? This is a spoon made of plastic that has a fork thing on the end of the spoon. And you don't see them too often any place other than prison. But in prison, they want to make sure that whatever they hand you to eat with, you can't turn into a weapon. And it's really hard to take a plastic spork and make it into a weapon. Yeah, Diddler is going to, the Diddler's doing fishing right now, I promise you. By now, he has had to figure out, guaranteed, it's the worst looking thing you ever saw. When people first start, they usually tear really wide strips of sheet and tie it together. There's kind of a science to that, actually. This is honestly, there are a lot of people that really are like, this is traumatic for most people that have done time. And what's nuts is I knew a guy that had a spork tattooed right here. I mean, a huge one. And it was the only ink the guy had on his body. And I'm like, man, that's the takeaway you wanted from inside, huh? Wow. Kentucky Fried Chicken. Yeah, they do. That's absolutely a fact. Kentucky Fried Chicken, KFC does use sporks. And I'll go farther and say that they're made by the exact same company as the ones in the feds. If they're not, they sure as hell are identical. You know something? I do. I think that there's a chance that anything that they think they can get evidence off of, we're talking about an unlimited budget. I'm not being funny. They got an unlimited budget. They can spend as much money as they want prosecuting this guy, right? No matter how much cash he's got, they've got more. And that's a terrifying concept. It really is, especially because if you're one of those guys that's gone to prison before, every prisoner, truthfully, everybody in there is of the firm belief that if you got enough money, you're not going to do time, right? If you got enough money, you're not going to do time. And that's, I guess, because we all know somebody that cheated, right? We all know somebody that got away with cheating. And this defendant brags about the fact that he's already done it once. Now, he besmirched the reputation of Johnny Cochran at the same time. Johnny Cochran of the O.J. Simpson trial fame, right? Wrote a book. Well, Johnny Cochran was the one who represented Diddy in that in the trial from December the 27th when he allegedly put that bullet fragment in that woman's face. She's maintained that the entire time, man. The entire time. Speaking of lawyers taking cases, the black guy that he hired, who's an appellate attorney. This is the guy that he's hiring to try to get them to let him out on bail, right? To let him out on bond, so that he can walk out of there and no longer do pre-trial detention. That's what he hired this guy for. That and no other reason, I promise you. But that cat represented Salvatore Gravano, Sammy the Bull. This was a guy that had represented Sammy the Bull on actually multiple occasions. That lawyer is he's a beast. He's a stud. Diddy is not farting around. He's really hiring excellent. He's hiring people that know what they're doing, right? If the glove don't fit, you must have quit. Yeah, I do believe that was the quote, right? If the glove doesn't fit, he was pretty good in that case. All right, he really was. He was amazing. Now, according to Sean Combs, he bought Mr. Cochran and helped him buy a couple of jurors, and that was how he beat the case. He did represent Sammy on a death penalty case. Megan is a law nerd. Yeah, it was a death penalty case. In fact, both times he represented, if I'm not mistaken, both times he represented Sammy, he represented him on death penalty cases. One was almost like a cold case of an officer of the law. I believe both may have been officers of the law, and those usually carry riding the light. Mr. Sport, you're good. I am going to put you up there just to shame you because you're late. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but it's going to happen. Yeah. I rolled my eyes when Johnny said that because gloves don't have to fit perfectly to wield a knife. Well, I'll tell you something else that's even worse is because they didn't want to do anything to mess up the glove in case they ever had to test it at a later date for DNA or anything else. They had him wear rubber gloves under the glove. I have the biggest hands you've ever seen, right? Except maybe Bacon Bits Ben Turner. But I have really, really big hands, right? And any pair of gloves I own take me about 4 minutes to get them on. Now, it's just something that takes a really long time. Yeah, Susie Q's, I promise you, liquor companies, record labels, think of all of the different people that have a vested interest in throwing money out for these parties. How about he had partners in Sean John, right? Sean John, I'm sure, as a company, was sponsoring parties. And again, you go, well, that's his money. Yeah, not so much. Honestly, yeah, the money that, like Diageo, you do realize he didn't own those brands, right? All he did was rep those brands. And most people do think he owned Ciroc. He did not. He sued because he said he got screwed. The $1 billion that he made simply was not enough. And you know what? He might be right. I don't know. Honestly, but they gave him $200 million. That was the settlement. And you're gone. $200 million. But they say they paid him $1 billion. If so, there's a bunch of money missing somewhere, right? There's a bunch of money missing somewhere because Revolt, he didn't put any money into Revolt. I'm a musician, and Jägermeister used to sponsor our gigs. Liquor companies love to sponsor artists and parties. It's in their DNA. And I'll tell you something else, because you're right. Because you're absolutely right. But I think you will find that, particularly with Chirac, that fool, in all of the old party pictures, in all of them, he always had a bottle of Chirac, right? He was always pimping that. He was always, right? And I would be shocked. I would be shocked if that wasn't a tool, right? Hey, this is my vodka, right? Here. Trust me, right? Creepy bastard. And like Ron was saying, I was over on the Sean Atwood program today with Ron, and like he was saying, people got hip in the 90s, right? In the 90s, Rohypnol, roofies, and I know we use the word roofie to mean anything that can knock someone out. The roofie was a particular drug. Fluonitrazepam. I'm not exactly sure how you pronounce it. Rohypnol. Anyway, Geraldo Rivera did a news report on this. Like, this was a huge thing in the 90s. And they stomped them out. They got rid of roofies, right? They were no longer manufacturing them anywhere in the civilized world. After that was when GHB and stuff like that started to come through. And most places passed a law that if you get caught with any of these things, including Quaaludes, I don't know where you're going to find them, but if you get caught with any of these substances, they're considered DR drugs, right? Chemicals. These are drugs used to assault people, Danny Masterson style, right? Just getting caught with that stuff can get you a whole different class of felony. But women got smart in the 90s when all of this was happening, and there was a big push. Don't drink it, right? Be really careful. If you didn't buy it, if you didn't see, never let your drink out of your hand. And there's a lot of people that really got smart that way. And we're like, friends started watching each other's backs, and all kinds of stuff started to happen. Imagine going to Diddler's house. Yeah, I brought my own water, right? I'm not going to. That's all right. That's all right. Want a massage? We got a guy over there on the massage table. So many different ways that these people. Did you see the itty bitty little devices that they seem to have so that they could spike people's drinks? I mean, my God, this was it's pretty obvious to me why this is RICO'd, right? That's a question that I get by you people more than anything. Why is this a RICO case? Why is this one RICO'd? He's not. He is a crime organization, right? Stop thinking about him as Sean Diddy Combs and starts thinking about him as the Godfather, right? Sean Combs. I'm not being funny, not this much. What they're saying is this was a crime organization. And yeah, he loved getting his rocks off with these weird parties like the Blackmail or whatever they call it, these orgies that he was throwing. But it's a business model. It's not just that he likes to sit and direct people on what to do. He's making videotapes, right? He's keeping videotapes. He's blackmailing people. This is what is alleged, right? And that all of those umbrella companies, right? Everything that comes under Sean Puffy Combs, Sean John, whatever, all of his names, right? All of those, anything that goes under that. This is what they're saying is a RICO. This is a racketeering influence corrupt organization, right? It is. And that's the argument. Whether you believe it or not, that's the argument. The other reason they did it is there's a crap load that this allows you to do. The RICO allows you to go after people in a way that other crimes can't. That other laws can't. It allows you to take statutes of limitations and really get rid of them. And in some cases, move them. So if a crime, if you charge somebody with a superseding indictment, or there's another crime that comes out, they can start running the statutes of limitations from when that crime occurred. It's confusing as hell. But what it boils down to is that, in my humble opinion, right? In my humble opinion, this is how the feds cheated to make sure that if there was somebody out there that was so good at getting away, right, that you had to have a backup plan. Because look at what happened to John Gotti, right? They charged him in the state, And when they charged him with the RICO loss, it was the exact same thing they charged him in the state for. It's double jeopardy. It's textbook double jeopardy. Unless you get picked up by the feds. And guys sit in county jails like this. I promise you, today, there are guys sitting in county jail praying, God, please don't let the feds pick up this gun charge. Please don't let the feds pick up this gun charge. You can still sometimes fall under the radar, and a state will put you in their facility, right? You're a drug dealer, you're whatever. And on top of that, there was a pew-pew, right? Not used in the commission of, but you just, you didn't fire it, nothing like that. Sometimes that ends up a state crime, and those guys will get like 24 months on that. But you get that in the feds, not only are you going to do a hell of a lot more time than that, but on top of that, you're now in the federal system, which means if you fart, they're going to charge you with a federal offense. I promise. Doesn't even have to be a loud one. Could be silent. They're still going to charge you. Once you're a fed, you're a fed. Hold on. B Minor says, I keep finding myself singing allegedly. You know what? It's not your fault. It's not. You can blame this one on Diddy as well. And I was joking with a friend of mine. I said I'd really like to claim he was the second shooter on the grassy knoll, because if I don't, someone else is gonna. This man is. It really is the people. The people that were putting videos out yesterday that were talking about how the stuff that happened in Florida is a direct result of Diddy snitching. That's a hell of a way to get a lot of views. It really is. But man, there's just no way that could have taken place. And it astounds me, because you ain't got to be, one of those really great investigative reporters. That's not a hard one to chase down. It really isn't. I mean, that case, they were building that for a very long time. I get the sense that the establishment is getting bored of their toys and throwing them out, especially since the record industry has been dead for 20 years. You know what? This is a hell of a comment. This is a hell of a comment. The music industry's dead. You guys understand this, right? When records went to cassettes, and then cassettes went to CDs, and then CDs went to what? Like digital downloads? And then, after Napster and after all of that, no, now an artist, the way the entire industry works is so much different. And yeah, it's been dead for 20 years. It's really, really going to be dead when this is over. And I think that this is a really astute comment. I really do, because I think that the people in the very top, I think that there's a ceiling, right? And I think that who's going to get prosecuted? The toys. I think that the people above that ceiling probably use Diddy for fun, right? They probably went to Freak Offs and said, oh, you got an actress? What's your name? Yeah, I'd love to do that. And a video? Yeah, can you video that? Pretty sick crap, man. For real. But this is what... It's a frightening concept, is it not? I love people who go, who cares? Right? What does this have to do with anything? Who cares? Pay attention for about 6 minutes. Tell me if you care. Diddy will create 100 silver play buttons and probably 10 gold. He's already created. I promise you. I'm looking at channels out there, right, that I promise you have never had any human being interaction, right? Like there's not a host. It's all just, and these things have been open for three months, 2.5 months, and have 200,000 people. And the funny thing is the 200,000 people are learning nothing. There's nothing discussed there. They will take 2 pieces of info and tell it to you in different ways on a loop while they show you images of Diddy. It's a really bizarre phenomenon. No way. Awakened by the Looking Glass Reflection says, I'm releasing a video within the hour about the exact same theme you're talking about right now, Tommy. Do you love it? There you go. You can put your link up there so that people know where to go and all of that. Feel free, please. People are sick, Deadhead. Ain't no question. People are sick, man. People are sick. And this, as far as I'm concerned, is just the start of this. This is just the start of this. That we're going to see people who have been, we're going to see some sirs. We're going to see some knights. We're going to see some princes. I think we're going to see some names come out of this, because it's impossible at this point for there not to be collateral damage. I absolutely believe that there are powers that are probably going to try to control, and just like was said, just they're toys. They're bored. They're bored, and there's no musical industry left. That has been the biggest crime hustle for all eternity. Do a 3-minute deep dive and just look at all the ways they have been screwing entertainers since entertainment started. Right? It doesn't matter which one you pick. Does not matter which one you pick. Hey, Gaslit, good to see you. All right, thank you, Awakened by the Looking Glass. I appreciate you. Allegedly, you know what? I could probably put something together on that. That's really funny. You know what? See this? Who cares? This crew, because many of us are living the aftermath of SA and other abuse, and we want it to be seen. Secrecy kills. My God, what a great comment. Yeah, suffering in silence. Then secrecy. Secrecy's worse. Secrecy's worse, right? When they force somebody not to talk, what are they saying? You don't matter. Right? Your story doesn't matter. That guy's important. You're not. That's why the idea that law enforcement was involved in this, the idea that people with federal badges could be involved in this. What happened to the investigation in 2013 into him messing with people underage? You going to tell me in 2013 you couldn't find any evidence of that? I don't buy it. Listen, this isn't allegedly, no allegedly. This is my personal opinion. You hear? This is my personal opinion. This is no different than Whitey Bulger, right? Diddy is absolutely the head of a crime family, in my opinion, right? And that crime family, as the head of that crime family, just like Whitey Bulger was allegedly the head of a crime family, he worked with the feds, handing over other people, telling dirt on other people, keep the feds happy, right? And in return, they let him get away with some stuff, right? They covered up a few things here, covered up a few things there, including a couple of dead bodies, right? His handler, that's what you call someone in the feds who works with a confidential informant. His handler is doing life in prison for the stuff that he did with Whitey Bulger. I think when this is all shakes out, we're going to find somebody that screwed up really, really bad. Megan Lowe, thank you so much. Really appreciate the support. All of you, I really do. And I appreciate you showing up. I'm not kidding, people. This is one of those things that I like what I do, right? I really do. I love what I do. But I also know where I came from, and the fact that you guys will show up here and you're a very understanding and accepting crowd. I love that. Diddy is one guilty guy. Just think about all the others: friends, hangers-ons, bodyguards, hotel and resto workers who were the sidelines but aware, silent and aware. So many people. Guess what, Stephanie? This is what RICO is for, right? This is what RICO is for. So that friends, hangers-on, bodyguards, hotel staff, all of those people who were aware of what was happening, right? They're pulling in the same direction. They all have the same goal. What's the goal? Well, for Bad Boy Entertainment to be very successful, right? For Diddy's companies to all be successful. And what do you do to make that happen? Well, we throw these incredible parties. Guess what? If you think Sean Combs bought the dope, right, put it in the bottles, made sure that everybody's packs. I got to come up with a name for those that's not going to offend my audience in other countries. You know the bags I'm talking about that you can wear on your backside and your front side? Those little bags that you use with a belt on them? Yeah. Katie Much, New Zealand. I love it. Thank you so much. The only other country that advertises drugs on planet Earth. Allegedly. I know that you used to. You know something? Here's the thing. This is a question that, yes, that's exactly what they're called. But you know what, cerebral palsy? That's one of those names that in another country, that word means something completely different. And I'm not trying to offend anybody. That's a hoo-ha in other countries. Hold on one second. Oh, yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, Diddy pack. You know what? I like that. A Diddy pack. All right, Nicole, here's the deal, right? Here's the deal. We're talking about somebody that I think that bad wiring, right? And this isn't going to be popular. The age old question: are there evil people, right, or are there just evil deeds? Anybody, right? You're not born evil. Like that. There's no such thing as an evil person. There's people who believe this. I want to tell you something. I've met them, right? I've had lunch and dinner with them. I've literally spent 18 months in a shoebox with one who was one of the most evil human beings I had ever known in my life. I mean, and zero, and I mean zero emotion for anything. This guy could. His dad died while he was with me, and I'm literally praying 45 times a day. God, let my dad survive until I get out. Like I did not want that to. And the chaplain shows up at your door in a lockdown unit. You go, oh shit. The chaplain doesn't show up unless someone's dead. And I'm not a good person, but I was praying right then, man. Let it be his dad. Let it be his dad. It was. His dad passed away. Sorry, but and they took him out. Right, and let him make some phone calls or whatever. And he comes back, and I said, "Hey, man," and his name was Taylor. I said, "Taylor, I'm sorry about your dad, man." And he goes, "Is today Wednesday?" I said, "Yeah, it is." He goes, "You think I could get an extra ice cream if I tell him my dad's dead?" There was no irony. He wasn't trying to be funny. This was absolutely like his dad was gone, and he was really stoked if he could work an extra ice cream out of it because on Wednesdays after your burger, you get a little like Blue Bunny ice cream. The cop did actually give him a second when he found out his dad died. This guy didn't have emotion for anything. He was an evil human being. Some of the things that he said to me, in all sincerity, I can't repeat. I literally can't repeat. Psychopaths are born and sociopaths are made. I like the distinction. And I'm telling you, this cat was born, right? This guy's got bad wiring. And unfortunately, I think he came in contact with people that saw him for what he is. And I think that the same thing happened with Jeffrey Epstein, right? The parties that be, the people we don't know, those people out there that we call they, right? They hired me to do this. They hired this guy to do that. Okay, whoever they are, they couldn't take someone like you and turn them into a Diddy or into an Epstein. They couldn't, right? Forget it. Now, they might be able to turn you into somebody that really gets power hungry and wants money and all that. This isn't about sex for Diddy. It's about control. And it's about, honestly, I think this guy gets his rocks off hurting people. I think he gets his rocks off hurting people. And you know what? Danny Masterson was a guy that got his rocks off hurting people. Those two were friends, right? They were. He used to refer to himself as Donkey Punch was the guy's nickname. Donkey Punch. This isn't about sex, people. If it was, he'd have a preference. Yeah, some people are bisexual, but he doesn't have a preference of anything. Male, female, young, old. It's about control. It's about control. And it's about causing pain. And I think the right sick people, they find Diddy's. They find Epstein's. And when they do, they go, I'm going to put this person in place, right? And we're going to use him for our ends. And he's such a sick SOB that all of the stuff he's doing here, it's probably all the pay he'll need. And we'll give him a really nice townhome in New York, a house up in Tahoe. No one knows how Epstein got his cash, right? There's a bunch of good theories, right? He worked for another country's 3-letter agency, except they don't call themselves a 3-letter agency, but you get the idea. We never know, right? We're never going to know on that one. His brother says some very interesting things. You should look at some of the interviews his brother has done. But very interesting, right? We're not going to know anything about the Epstein thing. We're not. They covered it up. Make no mistake, they covered it up, right? And they lied to you wholesale on how he died, right? That is absolutely no BS. I'll show you something real quick here. At least I think I'll show you something real quick, unless I got rid of it, and I might have. Let's see. All right, that right there. See that? That is a cell exactly like the one that he was in, right? Exactly. Those are the bunk bed, just like that. He had mattresses in there. He had clothing all over the floor. Okay, that cell could not be used for the watch, right? To watch someone who's in danger. You could not put him in that cell. Epstein could not be in that cell because all of those sheets, right? That's how you unalive yourself, with a sheet, right? There aren't ropes in there. You got to take a sheet and they rip it. And there's a lot of stuff but they won't let you have any of that. If you're on the watch, you're wearing an oven mitt. You don't even have underwear. You're not allowed to have boxer shorts, right? You're naked with the front part of a dress as thick as an oven mitt and the back part of a dress as thick as an oven mitt with Velcro on the top and the sides. The most uncomfortable thing you could ever wear. And by the way, your junk's just rubbing against the inside of it because they will not allow you to wear anything underneath it. You're also placed in a door that doesn't look like that door, right? The cell that you're in has a big glass door, right? It's not metal, it's glass. And there's a guy that sits from here to you, and he just sits and leans forward in a chair and says stuff like, "Hey, Sean, you doing all right? Huh? You thinking of hurting yourself?" Right? And they try to engage you in conversation. That guy's an inmate. They swap him out every 4 hours, right? He wasn't on the watch. There's no way he was on S watch. In fact, I think he was in there with another guy. All of those sheets, everything that you saw, no way they're letting one individual in the shoe have that much crap. They're vicious about that, right? They're vicious about it. Why? Because they're jerks. They're jerks. If you were to have 2 extra sheets, you can make a pillow. They never want that. They can't have that, right? Seriously. Their job is to make your life awful. Awful. So that's their get down. But I promise you, had any of that, it's all such BS. Those guys were in the shoe. The level of disrespect in a shoe, the only place in a prison where you run into people who are disrespectful, right, is in a place where they can't get at each other, right? Cell warriors, right? They're like trolls. You know what I mean? They can yell at you all they want because they're not in the same room. And this is an epidemic, right? Especially in lockdown units. So you got guys yelling back and forth to one another, calling each other names, right? Finishing every sentence with, "You heard?" As loud as they can, right? Guys yelling, "Car coming down." It's nonstop screaming. But 2 cops sitting right in the middle of that echo chamber fell asleep at the same time. The camera, because there's only one, right? No, the entire building is cameras. But the one camera that could have shown his cell, well, that one's turned off, right? There was something wrong with it. Okay, how about the next camera on the left and the next camera on the right? Let's get a look at the footage from that, right? For say the 6 hours before he was found. See if anybody walks that way, right? Yeah, you won't see him come this way. That's like having a screen. But I promise you, there's all kinds. Yeah, there's a picture inside of Epstein's cell, and I'm telling you right now, that's not. He was not on the watch. That is a standard cell in the BOP. It's just a regular. Now he was in the shoe, but when you're in the segregated housing unit, you are allowed 1 sheet that you can tie on your mattress, right? Like a fitted sheet, except it's not fitted. You're allowed 1 sheet for that. You're allowed 1 sheet to put on top of yourself and 1 blanket. Nothing else will be in the room. And I'm not exaggerating. Nothing else. You could have a book, a Bible, a picture, right? But nothing in terms of, and if he was on the watch, you have a concrete block in the middle of the room. The mattress that they put in there isn't a mattress. It's just a thin piece of something that you can't roll because they don't want you to hurt yourself. Everything is designed to make sure you cannot hurt yourself. Stupid, right? No, because the people that really do want to hurt themselves, that need to be protected. But I promise you, that's not what was happening with Epstein, right? So let's see all the footage from all the cameras. How about the one outside? People walking in and out of the building. How about getting in the elevator? Let's see who took the elevator to that floor for 5 hours. I mean, honestly, do they think we're all idiots? The camera's out. Only one in the building? What a shocker. And I'll tell you something else. There's never a camera out. There's never a camera out. If the camera is out, they lose their mind. I can tell you this from a fact, because the fellas, if they really want to hurt somebody, they'll try to knock a camera out first. But within about 6 minutes, there's going to be somebody coming down with a ladder to take that down and replace it. Clip a new one in. They're not farting around. You know, if a camera goes down, they know why a camera's going down. I'm telling you everything they fed us on that case. I'm just telling you from an inmate. Ask anybody that has ever been in the feds, that has ever been on the watch. I've been on both sides of that glass, right? The My Brother's Keeper program, right? You get paid $1 an hour to watch those people, right? People who are on the watch, $1 an hour, $4 a shift. That's huge money, huge money. Deadhead says, one of the two people I trust most have done life sentences. I knew some. I've known some pretty decent guys. Were the guards bribed? I'll tell you what. You've never seen anybody who finished a case faster, right? They got charged. Dereliction of duty. There was like a couple of other. There were charges against them before you could say, "Hey, what's up?" They had already cut a deal, settled, and they got paper, they got whatever. They're gone. Whoever they were, they're right. No one's going to their house to interview them. Like if there were real reporters, like in the old days, people would be over there going, "Hey, run us through this. You fell asleep shit," because no one's buying it. For real. Tell us how you fell asleep. Right? Let's go up to the shoe and listen to how quiet it is. Listen to how easy it is to catch a nap. Now, you say, well, how do inmates do it? Inmates take soap and put it in a bag, a little baggie, and twist it up, and they make earplugs out of it. Right? And most inmates sleep all day. Right? They sleep all day long. And then they stay up all night while people are screaming or whatever. They put their headphones in and they listen to Coast to Coast AM. I'm not kidding you. Inmates are all addicted to Coast AM. Lots and lots of people listen to it. Great show. People, I'm going to wrap this puppy up. And I'll tell you what, in 1 hour over on Chase the Heat, that's my brother's channel, we're going to get silly and we're going to celebrate the 8 years that has been the most unbelievable amount of burning that any man could possibly endure. He hates it when I say this, but my brother's a legend. If you've never seen my brother, go over to Chase the Heat and check it out. And I will see all of you there in about, an hour and 10 minutes. All right? Yeah, absolutely. I believe this 100%. I bet the people behind Epstein knew that ex-inmates would know it's BS about the cameras, etc., but they knew people wouldn't listen to anyone who's been to prison. Booyah. I've been screaming it. People don't listen. Tell you what, everybody, have a great night. I will be back tomorrow. We're going to go celebrate Chase the Heat on my brother's channel. Between now and the next time I see you, reach out and try to save somebody. Have a good night.